Hi, welcome back to our course that is Intellectual Property Rights. In the last lecture, we have gone through Convention on Biological Diversity. In today's lecture, we'll discuss about Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002, in which we'll see about what are the salient features of the act, access and benefit sharing, what are the different structural arrangement or administration levels involved in the implementation of Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, India is rich in biodiversity, in which number of plants, animals are there, different species of microorganisms are there, which are having great extent of variation, and out of which many can be used for improvement of human lifestyle, that is which is indirectly affecting and daily routine of our life. So this biodiversity and the resources from this biodiversity can be used for our benefits, but again it's very important that it should be used in controlled manner. Exploitation of these resources is there, but it should have some limits. It should use in some controlled manner. That is important. And for this purpose, Convention on Biological Diversity is there, which is one of the important instrument related to the protection of biodiversity. The Convention on Biological Diversity is one of the most broadly subscribed international environmental treaties in the world. Okay, so for the protection of the environment, it's playing an important role. And environment protection is nothing but the protection of biodiversity. When there is a balance in nature, there is a balance in biodiversity, automatically it will have some protection to the environment also. So we'll see one by one. Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002 and its salient features, access and benefit sharing. India has been a party to the Convention on Biological Diversity since 5th June 1992. Okay, so at that time particularly India became the party of this convention. To fulfill its commitments in the Convention on Biological Diversity, India enacted the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Okay, so in the Convention on Biological Diversity, there are provisions for the protection of biodiversity, in which so many criteria are given with respect to protection of biodiversity, and for the implementation of these criteria given in the Convention on Biodiversity, each and every party of the CBD has to enact and act or rules which can be followed by the whole country, so that it is able to protect the environment and biodiversity. So like that, India has enacted this Biological Diversity Act 2002. Various states have also enacted state-specific biological diversity rules, namely Kerala Biological Diversity Rules 2005, Maharashtra Biological Diversity Rules 2008. Okay, as India enacted in 2002. Like that, so many states of the India also enacted particular state level laws or acts which are also useful in the protection of biodiversity, in which here two examples are given, that is Kerala Biological Diversity Rules 2005 and Maharashtra Biological Diversity Rules 2008, which was enacted by Kerala and Maharashtra respectively. Okay, the act provides a three-tier structure for regulation and access to biological diversity. Now here, this Biodiversity Act 2002 is related to mainly or primarily genetic resources and associated knowledge by foreign individuals, institutions or companies to ensure equitable sharing of benefits arising out the use of these resources and knowledge to the country and the people. Okay, before going forward for this three-tier structure, Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002 is mainly related to the what are the things that is important. So here it is related to the access to these resources of biodiversity and equitable benefit sharing. As we know, in this particular biodiversity rich areas, there are communities, mainly tribal communities are there, which are related to the or which are directly in contact with this biodiversity for long years, and they are very much familiar with the what are the uses of different plants, animals, and what are the different species which are having great medicinal properties and other properties which can be commercially exploited and we will get some benefit. So this particular economic benefits are there that should be equally distributed to, or it should be distributed among the peoples which are related to the biodiversity or biological diversity. That is one of the important point in the Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002. The act has a specific provision about ownership of intellectual property rights associated with the exploitation of biodiversity. As we discussed in the intellectual in our last lectures, that is TK holders, traditional knowledge holders. There also we have gone through that main original person related to that traditional knowledge is not getting benefits. Okay, like here also this particular benefit should go to the particular person only. That is also one of the important aspect of this law. In the event of R&D based on exploitation of biodiversity and associated local knowledge, there is a provision for sharing of benefits of such work with the local community. Okay, any company, institution is carrying any experiment or research and development work related to the biodiversity resources, in that cases also such communities and people should get equally benefited. That is also important point. And now we'll see this three-tier structure for the regulation and access to biological diversity, in which first is the National Biodiversity Authority, that is NBA. All matters related to request for access by foreign individual, institution or companies. Here, three bodies are there. First one is the National Biodiversity Authority, that is NBA. Second one is State Biodiversity Boards, that is SBB. Third one is Biodiversity Management Committees, that is BMCs. This three-tier structure is there, which is involved in the regulation of the act. And first one is the National Biodiversity Authority, and in this particular authority they are having the matters related to the request for access by foreign individual. If any individual is there which is from some other countries, not from India, and so many institutions or companies are there which are outside of India, in these cases National Biodiversity Authority is there who is having the powers to access the to approve the request or reject the request of these individuals, institution and companies. all matters relating to transfer of results of research to any foreigner. This is also important point which comes under the National Biodiversity Authority, in which so many research and development programs are going on related to the new resources from biodiversity, and this related transfer of result of research to any foreigner is also comes under the authority. Second, that is state biodiversity boards. In the state biodiversity boards, all matters relating to access by Indians for commercial purpose. And second one is the state board will have the power to restrict any such activity. Okay. So all the members related to the state level, for example Maharashtra state is there, Kerala state is there, and from that state a person is there or institution is there who is looking for the commercially using of some resources from biodiversity. In these cases they have to reach to the state biodiversity boards, and approval or rejection of such request comes under this state biodiversity boards. Then third one is there, that is Biodiversity Management Committee, BMC. Institution of local self-government will set up a BMC. Okay. Now here in the particular state, some region is there, some area is there, which is rich of biodiversity, and that type of biodiversity mainly found in that area only. So in such cases, and local self-government will set an biodiversity management committee, and this biodiversity committee is playing an important role in the protection of the this local level or regional biodiversities. NBA and SBB are required to consult the concerned BMC on matters related to use of biological resources and associated knowledge within their jurisdiction. Okay, now here NBA and SBB will consult to the concerned BMCs, means they will have some again rules and regulations for the BMCs which can be followed by the BMC with respect to the protection of the biological resources and associated knowledge within their jurisdiction. Means what? There will be a specific area for that BMC. In that area the BMC will work with the help or with the monitoring of this NBA and SBBs. Now next important point is there, that is NBA and SBBs are the highest authority, or they will work with the BMCs for the protection of that local areas which are having or which are rich of biodiversity. Restriction for access to biological resources. Okay, some restriction are also there, in which the act imposes certain restrictions on request related to the access to biological resources and traditional knowledge if the request is on some important points are given, that is endangered taxa, endemic and rare taxa. Okay, here the taxas are the species mainly. Endangered means what? Those who are on the way of disappearance from the earth surface. Okay, means because of some change in environment they are not able to survive. Such type of the species can be called as endangered species. Then endemic and rare. Endemic means what? They will be found some in some specific area only, that is endemic. And rare, then if the request related to the area particularly which cause genetic erosion or affect ecosystem function, okay, if such requests are there, then the board will reject the request for the use of resources of biodiversity. Then if the requests are there which can adverse and irrevocable environmental impact, okay, in this type of the impacts are there in which too much harm will be there to the particular environment. In that cases also the request will be rejected by the biodiversity management committees. Okay, so these are the some restrictions for access to biological resources, and these restrictions are there because the species which are endemic, which are endangered species, if we will exploit them in uncontrolled manner, then we will lose them and we will not be having them for the future purpose or for the balance of the nature. That's why these type of restrictions are there. Then next important point is there, that is access to biological diversity. Now, on the what basis there will be the access to the biological diversity, that is defined here in the Biological Diversity Act 2002 in the chapter number 2. Okay, the following regulations have been placed in the section 3 to 7 of the said act. Okay, in 2002, Biological Diversity Act 2002, there is an provisions for the access to the biological diversity, in which it requires the following categories of the person to seek previous permission of the NBA to obtain any biological resources occurring in India or knowledge associated thereof, research or commercial utilization, or for biosurvey and bioutilization. Okay, if any of these purpose is there, okay, for example, obtain any biological resources occurring in India or knowledge associated to that biodiversity, or if any research to be conducted or any commercial utilization is there, or if any simple biosurvey is there or some bioutilization is there. In all type of these cases, they will have to take the permission from the NBA, then only they are able to access the biological diversity. A person who is not a citizen of India, okay, if any foreign person is there, foreign entity is there, then they have to take the permission. Secondly, a citizen of India who is a non-resident as per section 230 of the Income Tax Act 1961, if any person is there who is the non-residential Indian, means what, he is the citizen of India but he is, for some reason he is out of India. In that case also it is applicable. Next, a body, corporate, association, organization not incorporated or registered in India. Okay, some corporations are there, associations are there, organizations are there which are not incorporated or registered in India. All those have to go through the NBA's intimation or permission, then only they will have the access to the biological diversity, otherwise no. Next, criteria for benefit sharing. Now, this is also important point, that is criteria for the benefit sharing, in which the Act, according to Section 21 and Rule 20 of the Biodiversity Rules, claims upon including appropriate benefit sharing provision in the access agreement. Okay, so whenever any benefit sharing, any benefit is there from the use of biological diversity resources, in that cases, there should be an equal or equitable benefit sharing. Next, while granting approvals for access, NBA will impose terms and conditions so as to secure equitable sharing of benefits. This is also important point, that is whenever permission will be granted to any of the above said organization or entity or persons, then there will be having some terms and conditions, and in that terms and condition it is made sure that there will be an secure equitable sharing of the benefits to the community or people which are related to the biological diversity. This benefit includes, first, grant of joint ownership of intellectual property rights to the NBA, or where benefit claimers are identified to such claimers. Okay, sometimes what happens, there is a no claimers of that particularly intellectual property right. In that cases, NBA will have the joint ownership, or whenever such claimers are identified, that claimer will have joint ownership with that intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights means what? For example, neem is there and that neem is having very good properties, that may be antifungal properties or some other properties are there. In that, in such cases, there will be an equitable sharing to such claimers, and if the claimer is not there, in that cases National Biodiversity Authority will be the having right to get the joint ownership of intellectual property rights related to the biological diversity. Then second one is there, that is transfer of technology. Okay, so many technologies are there which are related to the biological resources. In that cases also equitable benefit sharing should be there. Then location of production, research development units in such areas which will facilitate better living standards to the benefit claimers. Okay, so this is also one of the important point, that is production facilities, research development units can be formed and which facilitate the better living standard to the benefit claimers. Next, setting up of project capital fund or aiding the cause of benefit claimers. Okay, and last one is there, that is payment of monetary compensation and other non-monetary benefits to the benefit claimers as the NBA may consider suitable. Okay, sometimes claimers have to go through some losses, and so such losses should be composed, should get compensation to that particular persons or institution or local community, that should also have covered in the benefit sharing. Then other non-monetary benefits are also there, which can also be claimed by the persons related to the biological diversity, and such claimers should be considered by the National Biodiversity Authority to suitable to that particular claim. Then only they will get the benefit sharing, otherwise no. Okay, so this is about the Indian Biological Diversity Act 2002, and what are the criterias, terms and conditions given in the benefit sharing, and also administration regulation related to the implementation of Biological Diversity Act 2002. Okay, so we'll stop here today. In the next lecture, we will discuss about International Treaty on Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture, that is ITP-GRFA.